Interested in knowing how to invoke Apex class within the Lightning controller. How to invoke an Apex class within a Lightning controller. Can I call every Apex class in the Lightning is the first question. If I want to call an Apex class in the Lightning, what are the thumb rules I have to follow? By now, you may be knowing some of the annotations. Tell me some of the annotations you know. Tell me some of the annotation. At the rate of future, at the rate of rest resource, at the rate of is test, at the rate of is test. Then what else we can use? Pardon me. Remote action. Then we can have at the rate of post, at the rate of history post, get, all these things. Similarly, we have one more annotation. That is URA enable. The next annotation what we have is URA enable. One of the annotation we had is URA enable. What is the purpose of this URA enable? URA enable is the annotation which is used to define an Apex class that can be accessed within the Lightning components. URA annotation. It enables client-side access to the Apex class. That means a client using a JavaScript in the Lightning component, it can invoke an Apex class from the server side. Now, do you go with URA enable? 1 minute. Right. Do you go with at the rate of URA enable? Do you define class as a URA enable or a method as a URA enable? If you want to access any Apex class, is it the class which you should have at the rate of URA enable, or is it the method that should have URA enable? Generally, what was the format? We define method as URA enable. Now, if you define method as a URA enable, what are the properties it has to obey? I told by now you may be knowing if you are defining any annotation, by default it has to be a static method. Wherever we are using URA enable, wherever we are using annotation, by default that method will be static. Take an example. At the rate of future, it is a static. At the rate of remote action, static. At the rate of HTTP post, static. At the rate of is test, static. By now, you may be knowing if you are defining any annotation, it will be a static method. So even URA method is also a static method. So method which is defined with annotation at the rate of URA enable is a static method. Okay. Next. Now look at this. Now we are making the instance of the method and properties. Now you need to understand some other basic properties. If you define any method, as URA enable, now they are not having getter and setter methods. If you don't have a getter and setter methods for the variables, obviously the data I cannot call within a Visual Force page. So generally we will not be having that. Okay. Now you want to maintain a cache will equal to true. So practically you using this is very less. But what we are going to understand is at the rate of URA enable. At the rate of URA enable. Can I define more than one method in a class with the URA enable? Yes. Tell me one annotation where I can use only once in a class. Tell me any one annotation which can be defined only once in a class. Okay, invocable. At the rate of invocable. If you want to call a Apex class within a process builder, we have to define that method as at the rate of invocable. There can be only one invocable method in a class. But here we can define multiple future methods in a class. We can define multiple remote actions. We can define multiple test classes. We can define multiple URA enable. Now, if they ask you, the moment I say URA enable, How many methods I can define in a class? Multiple methods. Tell me one example where we can only use one annotation in a class. Okay, annotation of only one category of the type at the rate of invocable. Okay, I hope this is the basic information, right? Okay, next, look at the point. Let us take basic level examples. First, I will show you how you define a class. I am defining at the rate of string. First example I am taking without parameters, boss. I have defined a basic Apex class, public class URA example at the rate of URA enable public static string called. The basic example I have taken. Now, if you want to call this Apex class within the Lightning component, what we are supposed to do? First, let me complete the example, then I'll come back to the critical implementation. If you want to call any Apex class, we are supposed to define controller equal to. If you want to define any Apex class, then we are supposed to define controller equal to Apex example. Then I have URA attribute, name equal to EMP name, type equal to. I call URA handler, name equal to init, value equal to this, action equal to then I gave employee name, very basic example. What was the controller I gave? Apex example 1. Example component invalid definition for null. Pardon me? URA, right? Control equals to URA example, right? I give Apex example. People can say line number 1 controller. Right, fine, we give this format. Now let us go to controller. What was this? The first question. You need to understand the first point here. Boss, every Apex method you are going to call from the client side controller is asynchronous call. Every method you are going to make, every Apex class method you are going to call, any invocation of Apex method from the client side controller is asynchronous call. It will not run synchronously, it will run asynchronously to improve the performance. And also it has a system. Satish calling show method from example, Kumar calling show method from example, different users are running different operation. Now it will queue all the jobs from all the people. Now Satish is working on a page, Kumar is working on a page, Hari is working on a page. All these 3 pages are requesting a show method from example. The moment you call, immediately they will not execute. So different people are working on different pages. Whatever you are requesting, that request will come to the queue and add. Now in that, duplicates will be removed and a call will be sent only once. So because of this, what is happening? number of calls to the server is reducing, and we are fetching the data and putting in the cache which everybody is using it. So this will improve the performance. Now if you are making a call to the server, all the requests that are coming from different sources, they are added to the queue, and if some request is going to the same method twice or thrice, they'll remove it and make it a single. Because you are making a call to the same method with the same parameter, same method, then it is sent only once, data will be stored in the cache. From the cache you can take it. So every method is what? Asynchronous method. The method is going to be added to the queue. From the queue they will be processed to the server. It is not click, go to the server. It is not a synchronous. Visual Force to Apex class is a synchronous. Visual Force cannot call asynchronous methods from VF page. Remote action is asynchronous call. I cannot call it directly. Action function is a asynchronous call. I cannot call it directly. It has to be invoked from the scripting. Right, boss? So any method that you are making from the Lightning controller is asynchronous call to the server. Okay. How do you refer it? First, var action. I took a variable. Action is a variable name. ABC. Okay. Is the name of the variable. Component dot get C dot. What is the name of the method? From the component, whatever the controller is there, from that controller, call me. Invoke the method called call me. Boss, whatever the component is there, from that component, controllers, call me method and invoking it. I told you already, it is a asynchronous call. It is a asynchronous call. If it is a asynchronous call, then what I should do? $a dot enqueue action. Now tell me, where did you encounter this enqueue action in regular classic? Whenever we are running a Kubel job, if you want to run them like asynchronous, we have added system.enqueue action. Similarly, here also it is adding to queue by using enqueue action. Okay. Then ABC dot set callback. Set callback. When you say set callback, this comma, this particular component, comma, function, then I am going to give response. I will explain here once again. What was it? Set callback, C capital, B small, this comma, function. Give. Set callback. What is param 1? This comma. Set callback. This comma. What is param 2? Function. What is that set callback? Set callback. This comma. Function. Response. What I can give. People have followed this. Once again, I will define set callback. What I was supposed to give? Param 1. Set callback. This set callback. First parameter is this. This comma function. In the function we have a parameter. Set callback function. I have response. People have followed this structure. So what is that? Set callback, this comma, function, response. Set callback, this comma, function, response. Now come back to the point. People are good with this? Okay. Now, this is what I am defining it. Set callback this function. Everyone is good with this, right, boss? Okay. Now the point is, you invoked a method. First of all, I want to see whether method is invoked or not. Console log. I want to see whether method is invoked or not. So what I was supposed to do, method invoked. So when page is loaded, I told URA handler. URA handler is calling JavaScript. JavaScript is calling method from Apex class. Now when the method is invoked, is the method operation is success or a failure? Now method is called doesn't mean that method is success. You called a method doesn't mean that method operation was successful. There may be a DML exception, there may be arithmetic exception, there may be a callout exception, there may be X, Y, Z. You have called a method, but how do you know that method operation is success or a failure? So what should I do? I have to get the state of the method. So I am going to take var state equal to response dot get state. Now I am checking if state equal to success. When do you refer to triple equal to? Equal to is for assignment, double equal to is for comparison, triple equal to is comparison but exact match, exact location match also. Okay. State equal to success, then I want to give console.log. Else if state now it may be an error, it may be an exception, it can be aborted, it can be waiting state, there may be a number of reasons. Go back here. I want to see inspect operation success. Now the same one, for your understanding, I will do one thing. So that method, it is throwing a DML exception there, right? You invoke the method. Alright, this one. Now when you call a method, I am not sure the operation the method is a success or a failure. So we need to know the state of the method. Is it a success or a error or an exception? Sometimes I may throw exception of my own choice. So error or exception or aborted or in a fault, there may be a number. So I am checking the status of the method. When you are invoking, what is the status of the method? If the method status is success, then I want to get the result. When you call a method, this method is calling you some, method is giving you some result, right? When you invoke this method, it is returning you some value. Whatever the value this method is returning you, I want to capture this return. So how to capture the value returned by this method? Go back to this. I'll go with this. What is the control? I'm giving var result equal to response dot get return value. Whatever the response is giving, whatever the value it is giving you, get this value. Once you get this value, what do you want to do? Component dot set I am storing this value to a component. You are returning some value. Come again. Okay. Go back to this. Go to the application. This is how we got the value. So whatever the value it is giving, I am fetching the data, I am giving it. So first of all, you need to understand 2 points here majorly. First thing is, every Apex method you are calling from the Lightning is asynchronous call. How can you prove it? Now look at this. I created an action. That action was enqueued. I created an action. Action was enqueued. What is the advantage of enqueuing this action? Instead of sending a multiple calls to the server, we are grouping all of them and sending a single call. Instead of sending a multiple calls to the server, we are grouping all the actions into a single set and sending a single call. It will avoid number of interactions with the server. The moment you avoid the number of interactions with the server, performance of the page will automatically increase. Performance of the page will automatically increase. That's one of the advantages of running this method as asynchronous. Tell me one example which you encountered in the Visual Force where the performance is increased on the VF page because of asynchronous. Because of asynchronous. Whenever you are going for an action function, whenever you are going for a remote action, the performance will be increased and the load time will be reduced. Now, I want to load 10,000 records, 15,000 records at a time. I want to load 15,000 records at a time. If you go with a standard operation, it will throw vState exception, saying that it cannot be more than 135 KB. The same operation you do with remote action, get the data, and whatever the data we are getting in the remote action, it is in the JavaScript, set the value using a data table or JSON table. Automatically what happened? I can display all the data. No vState exception. Because it is asynchronous call, data will not be maintained in the vState there. Right? Are you getting my point? So whenever there is an asynchronous call, obviously performance of the page will be increased. How do you add the action? $a.enqueue action. $a.enqueue action. I hope you are good. Okay. Once again, I'll start from the beginning. Go through it if you have any queries. First of all, which method you are calling? Whatever the method you are calling, you have to create an instance of that method. Whichever the method you are calling, you are supposed to create an instance of that method. So how do you create an instance of that method? Where you can define anything. Action. Name of the variable. Action is not a functionality. Action is the name of the variable. Where action equal to component dot get c dot every method should be asynchronous. $a dot enqueue action. Now you want to capture the response, perform some operation. You want to capture the response, perform some operation. So what I was doing here, action dot set callback. Action dot set callback. In the set callback, what are the parameters we had? This particular component. Then what is the action you want to do? So within this response, I have to give. What was this? First know the state. Where state. If state equal to success, then why I am writing this console.log? It is like your debug statements in the system.debug statements to check the order of execution where the functionality has failed. Then I am giving where result equal to response dot get then assign this value to component. So if it is a failure may be because of anything. It may be error or exception or abort or whatever it is. Code console.log. This is how I create. Everyone is good with this format?
Hi, Satish.
Yeah. Now.
I have hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple of queries over here at line number 4 and line number 14. So in line number 4, we have used a callback function, right?
Yeah.
So what
is
actually it mean and
this is to handle the response. You created an action instance of the method. That method is going to give a response. That response may be a success or a failure or exception. So whatever the response we received, the response I want to check whether it is a success or a failure or exception and process my logic. Now this is to create an instance of the action, add that action to enqueue. When you give the action to enqueue, now it will go to the queue, perform the operation, then give a response. So even if it is a success or a failure, it has to convey you the message. The method may be a success or a failure, but it has to convey the message to the person who called you. So whatever the response you are giving, I am handling the response by giving set callback. The method dot set callback action. The person I call this method, whatever the response I received, using the response I want to set callback to the component. Action dot set callback, handle the response. Whatever the response you received, we are trying to handle that response by using action dot set callback. Now line number 14 is to what? Add the action to the queue. Line number 4 is okay. Line number 3 is what? Creating an instance of the method. First, create an instance of the method, add that method to the enqueue. Then, when the response comes, handle the response. That is first line number 3, instance. Line number 4, handling the response. Line number 14, enqueuing the action. I hope you are good.
Set callback is purely JavaScript function, or it will be used only in Salesforce embedded JavaScript?
Now, where is the question of JavaScript here, boss? Tell me. Here, they mention any word called a JavaScript or a Salesforce functionality. It is what a client-side controller. In the JavaScript, do you have any functionality called set callback? Do you have any functionality called component.get? In the JavaScript, do you have any functionality called component.get? It was a customized scripting in the Salesforce. Okay, the internal functionality is scripting only, but we are not directly using a scripting. We are using customized scripting. Where is the functionality called component.get? Is it a part of JavaScript? Now, where is the part of action.set callback? Is it a part of JavaScript? It is a customized scripting. Purely works for what? Purely works for what? It is purely works for what? Purely works for Salesforce only. Now, you cannot run this scripting in the, you cannot take this code and run in the JavaScript. You cannot take this code and run in the JavaScript. It will not work. This will work only when the Lightning predefined JavaScript files are available. Where is that Lightning predefined JavaScripts are available? In the Salesforce. That's how it runs. Did you get my point? Now you are using Apex page block table, boss. When you say Apex page block table, internally what is used? HTML only. You are using Apex page block. Internally what is used? HTML, CSS is used, or they may have used JSP. Even if they use JSP, it is again what? Again, what is that? HTML. Now, because it is developed on HTML, can I take that page block table and then HTML code? It will not run. It is a scripting. Yes, I do agree it is a scripting, but this scripting is a customized scripting for Salesforce. This will be only understandable within the Salesforce. I hope you are good with this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, thanks, Satish. And $A, can you throw some light on $A? What actually it
what is the purpose of dollar? Yeah, hold for a minute. What is the purpose of dollar in Salesforce? Dollar indicates what? Global. A stands for asynchronous, right? $A. It's commonly used in the Salesforce. Wherever we represent a global, we use it. If you want to refer to the resource, static resource, how did you use $resource dot? If you want to use the current user, $current user. If you want to read the parameters from the URL, $current page dot. From the Visual Force, if you want to read the parameters from URL, $current page dot. Now again, tell me some other examples. Tell me some other examples. Any global data you want to use? $. Generally, $, indicates global. Even in the formulas also, in the formulas we are using some global fields. Global fields will be there. There, how did you use $? Wherever I am using $, it indicates global. Now there is a reason. If you remember in the jQuery first statement what I wrote. If you remember the jQuery classes, what I have taken for in the Visual Force, we have done jQuery examples. When I have taken a jQuery examples in the Visual Force, what is the first statement I have written? Okay, what is that? Where $, equal to jQuery dot no conflict. Did you remember the statement what I gave? Where $, equal to jQuery dot, and I told what is the reason I gave. Every jQuery statement will start with a $. In the Salesforce, $, means global. So when I read a $, okay, it is unable to, Salesforce is unable to understand, is it a jQuery $, or a Visual Force $? There is a reason to avoid the conflict we use this. So what does that $, indicates? $, in the Visual Force indicates global data. Not only Visual Force, entire Salesforce operation, $, indicates global data. $, indicates global data. I hope you are good. People are good with this? Clear about?
Sir, line number 14 should come first, right, sir, before line number 4?
Now this operation is closed. This is asynchronous operation, right? It will be added later. It will be automatically running in the backend. It will be automatically running.
Yeah, I'm also having same doubt. My next question is the same.
People need to
so
understand.
after
Hold 5 minutes, boss. Got your point. Don't elaborate. Right. Now, right. I got your point basically. Now you are using a future method, right? You are using a future method in that method. So what is the order of their execution? I am calling some I have defined this. When you define this, do you think that the methods will be running on the top to bottom approach? Now tell me what is the order of their execution? Do you think it's line number 1, line number 2, then future is called, added to queue, line number 1, 2, added to queue? No. Any asynchronous job is there, pull that asynchronous job, run separately. Then remaining operation will run separately. It is not a top-down approach for asynchronous. Any asynchronous operation is there. Probably if you remember my future classes, I have taken the similar type of line by line statement. I have taken line 1, line 2, line 3, future method 1, future method 2, line 3, line 4. I have taken a group of statements. Do you remember that example? Right. So what is the order of the execution? All the asynchronous jobs are pulled first, and the remaining operations pulled separately. Then they are going to run it. If there is any dependency, they'll hold for the dependency. Once the dependency action is completed, then asynchronous will be called separately. What my point here? So when I say this operation doesn't mean that line by line 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then followed by 14. It is asynchronous. Pull the job separately. Pull the job separately. I hope you are good with this. Alright, but line number 14 has a dependency on line number 3. So it will wait until the line number 3 is completed, then it will run separately. I hope you got my point. I hope you have got my point. This is the basic theme of your future method or a batch effects or a schedule effects or a tuple job. If you are doing a batch effects or a future effects, okay, future or a tuple, this is a basic theme. What is the basic theme? When you say asynchronous, doesn't mean top-down approach. When you encounter asynchronous, call it separately. right? When you say asynchronous, first it will find out what are the asynchronous jobs. Any dependencies are there? Yes, run those. Then pull these jobs separately. Remaining will be executed in order. Got it, Amma? I hope you got my point now. Clear?
Yes, Satish.
Yeah.
Actually, it's far clear right now.
Right.
And as a small
Okay.
clarification,
You should come to straight to the
if you're
point.
okay, I'll ask.
Come to the straight to the point then.
Yeah. So I understand like it's asynchronous. That's why we can place it anywhere. But set callback, is it depend on? It purely depends on 14th line, right? Why? Because we need the status. Once it hits the server, after that it needs the status. So set callback will be executed only after this asynchronous job
Right.
executed, right?
Again, I repeat the process. When I want to handle the response, until the operation is completed, response will not be coming. So until the job is added to the queue, until the job is added to the queue, until the job is added to the queue, right, the action will not be performed. Job should be added to the queue, then action should run, then response will come back. Okay, I can handle the response only after the operation is completed. I can handle the operation. I can handle the response only after the operation is completed. That means job is added to the queue, operation is completed, then I am coming back. If operation is delayed, response will be delayed. The load time will be increased. As simple as that. If operation is delayed, response will be delayed. Response is delayed, load time of the response will be delayed. So the page response will be loaded a bit slowly. So obviously it has to be what? First run the operation, call the method, add it to the queue. From the queue, run the operation, then get the response, then put it on the page. So it should be added to the queue. From the queue, job will run. After running the job, response will come. Then that response is handled by callback. I hope you're good with this.
Yes, Satish.
So we can
Why?
put the 14th line number in 5th line number. It's not a problem, right, sir?
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference actually.
And sir,
Okay,
and
okay.
then why in every example we usually see at the end this
I
NQ
am
action?
processing
Why
it.
can't they put it
I
there?
am processing it. So there is a order of writing execution. Now everything related to one particular functionality, I will put it at one line. I will not break one line separately, second line separately. Now if I am putting it here, how does you understand I am referring to an action? Now you are creating an action first, then you are adding, then you are creating an action. So in order to avoid this confusion, what you are doing, pull it back. Now we have created an instance, that instance dot set callback. Right. Now, okay. Let us come back to the next one. Now, let us come back to the next one. I hope everyone is good with this. I hope everyone is good with this. Any query? Any query? Okay. Let us go back to the next one. Let me show you. People still have some query on that. Let me show the right point here. Right. Now, with this property, you'll understand this point. Is a as well as remote controller actions. Fine, let us not get too much into this point here. Let us finish off this. I hope this format is clear. Right? Okay. People have followed this. People have followed this. Right. Followed this. Okay. Now, one quick point to tell you that this method invocation is asynchronous. People have done a lot of example with action function, action. Okay, action function, action polar, remote action, right? Okay. Probably, I mean, actually, topic is deviated. But anyhow, the question was asked. Let me give it. Now, remote action is called from where, boss? From where you can call the remote action? You call it remote actions, right? From where did you call the remote action? From where you can call the remote action? JavaScript. Any call that is going from a JavaScript is a synchronous call or asynchronous call. If it is a synchronous call, then why are you giving again login ID password for logging into database? If it is a synchronous call, why the data is not maintained on the view state? If it is a synchronous call, why data is not maintained in the database? Now, what was that? I can give you. Okay. So, the way you are invoking remote action from the Visual Force page, in the same way, we are invoking URA enabled method from Lightning controller side. In the Visual Force, you write JavaScript, invoke a remote action from the Apex class. What was the purpose of remote action there actually? What is the purpose of remote action? I can call that remote action straight away in the JavaScript. Now, if you want to take a data from Apex class in the Visual Force page, why do you write a script? You already have Apex class and Visual Force, right? Click a button, go to the server, you take the data, come back. Now, why you want to call a Apex class method in the JavaScript, boss? What is the purpose of going for a remote action in the JavaScript? Why you want to call? If you want to really display any data in the VF page, you might have used an Apex class. When you click on a button, call a method, the method data will come to Visual Force, you can display it. Why did you use the remote action there? Why did you use the remote action? Now, why people prefer to go with a remote web service call from the JavaScript side? When you can write a web service call straight away in Apex class, why you are defining that method as @ of remote action? Why are you calling that method in the JavaScript? Straight away, very easy way, we can create a action, command button action equal to method. I'm able to get it very easily. So fine, people may say when an event occurs, event means what? On change is occurring, event occurs, go to client side, from the client side I want to call it JavaScript. Okay, very good. You already have action function. Okay, forget about this. Now you are using re-render. You are using rendered. Why are you using rendered and re-rendered? What is the concept of rendered and re-rendered? Display, not display, okay. How that display and not display will happen? That is the reason when you learn the topic, you have to learn with the basics. Now what was it? That is a Ajax call. What do you mean by Ajax call? Asynchronous call. Asynchronous JavaScript call. Re-render is a Ajax asynchronous call. Rendered is a asynchronous call. Action function is a asynchronous call. Action puller is a asynchronous call. Action support, action region, all these are asynchronous call. What do you mean by asynchronous call? Running parallel. Asynchronous means what? Running parallel. Running independently. When you are calling a asynchronous call from a JavaScript, it will run independently from the page. As it is running independently from the page, the data what we are fetching will not be in the view state. Got it? The same story. Here when I say $a.enqueue action, it is asynchronous call. If it is a synchronous call, I have to wait until the response come back. The only the difference between synchronous and asynchronous is, synchronous means I made a request, until that operation is completed, I have to wait. When the response come back, then I have to continue the remaining operation. Again, the same example I'll give you. In triggers, people doesn't support web services. Triggers will not support a web service calls. Why trigger will not support any web service call? Now I told before inset. Before insert, you are making a web service called to third party. Now, before insert means what? Record is not saved. Before the record is saved, we are making a web service called to third party. If the third party take 1 minute time, till that 1 minute record will not be saved. The entire operation will be in holding state. Suppose I am inserting 1000 records at a time. The first record made a web service call, the entire operation is in hold. There is a reason the trigger says, I will not support synchronous call. Synchronous web services. Synchronous means you make a request, response has to come. Once I receive the response, then I will continue second. I got 1000 records. First record I took, made a web service call. Until the response comes, I will not go to second record. So all the 1000 records will be waiting for 1000 minutes to complete the operation. That is the reason it says, I will not support synchronous call. Then how did you make? You made it as asynchronous call. Trigger says, I will not support a synchronous web service call, but if you make a web service call through asynchronous call, I will support. That is the reason we write a web service in the future method, call a future method in the trigger. Now how it is that? If anybody has taken my integration class, you have done one example also. Now what was that? Now if you are making a call from a trigger with a future method, trigger is called, it is a future, it will jump. I am not worried about whether you are completed or not. I will continue my work. When your work is completed, come back. Why? You are running independently. Why? You are running independently. So when you say asynchronous, it is running independently. When you are running independently, the operation can be performed faster. Right? So that's the reason why the people are going for asynchronous. Here also it is what? Asynchronous call. I will not wait for the response to come back. Meanwhile, I can complete the other tasks. Meanwhile, I can complete other tasks which are independent. I will not wait for your response. Meanwhile, I can complete. What is the basic core theme of going to a lightning? Improve the response time. Response time should be given fast. Okay, faster response should be given. Right? That is the reason it is asynchronous. Right? So somebody has started a discussion. Event XYZ application. Now, basically, I hope you got my point. Here. So what was the call here is actually asynchronous. The same thing what we are doing with the remote action in the Visual Force, we are also doing here with the URI enable. There you call at the rate of remote action, here I am calling as URI enable. There is a pure JavaScript. Here it is customized JavaScript designed for Salesforce. Now I cannot copy this code, run this code. This is how you define a function in the JavaScript. This is how you define a function in the JavaScript. This is not the syntax. This is not the syntax of JavaScript. It is a customized format of syntax. Are you getting? Right? Now at the back end, I am not sure whether they have used only JavaScript or jQuery or AngularJS or okay, Node.js. They use a lot of things. There is a customized and simplified format of scripting here. I hope I have clarified every query of you. Still any more query? Right? Online boss? Done?
Yeah, yes, Satish, done. Clear.
Fine. So, now, half an hour done. Let us go to the next concept. I want to make a simple operation. So, anyway, we started here. Before going to the next example, I'll try to see. I'll make a request to you. When I make a request to you, you are giving a list of record. Now, next one is, I want to write a SQL query in the Apex class. When you write a SQL query in the Apex class, you are giving a list of record which I want to display. This is my requirement. You have seen how to make a Apex class. But my next question is, I am getting a list of records from the Apex class. Apex class can return you a primitive value, a wrapper class, an S object, or it can be a list of S object. Now, the point here is, if they are running you a list of records, how will you display the data? If you take a Visual Force page, you have a page block table, data list, repeat. If you take a Visual Force page, we have a page block table, data list, repeat to display a list of records. Same way, if I want to display a list of records, in the Lightning component, what is the concept we have to use? Okay, we wrote a query, we made a call to server is giving a response that we understood. But the point is, the response is a list of record. Now, how will you display that list of record is the first question. So let me give a basic example. I'll come back to Apex class again. This is how you are taken. URA iteration items equal to list of elements var equal to. I'll give you basic to understand. I'll give a comparison. Apex page block table value equal to names var equal to, right boss? Value equal to list of elements. Here items equal to list of elements. That is only the difference. Then I told names, it is an attribute, so v dot names. Okay. Now I can give the same story, but their value here I am taking items. So let us go to a lightning application. So have a preview. You got Sham, Ram, Kiran and Prasad. I hope you are good with this. I hope you are good, right? People are good with this. And how we are reading? URA iteration items equal to v dot name. If that is a array of records, a dot name, a dot phone, a dot industry, a dot source. Is that was clear? People are good with this. Okay. Let us go back to the next example here. This example I will combine with my Apex class and do the combination. I hope you people have followed this example. Everyone is good, right? Let us take the combination. Right now I am giving limit 4. Right? Basic example is good. Everyone is comfortable with this class. Wrote a SQL query, brought the data, returning the list of record. Now what is our intention? This need to be invoked. Everyone listen. Don't write all Bhagavad Gita's post. Listen. Now we are giving Apex example. So what was the controller here? Controller URA. Then I am giving URA attribute name equal to. Now you can create a button or you can create a URA handler. First I am going with URA handler only. Okay. We are not organizing the data in a proper way. Just we are getting the functionality right. We are just interested on the functionality now. We'll organize the data in the next examples. And how you define URA items equal to we can give v dot cons. A dot name I give this. Go to the controller. Now tell me how you define where C dot response, then where then if state equal to success, where set. Similarly, I want to give console dot log right box. Yes.
So it's a component dot get return value or like a response dot get return value.
It is a response, Amma.
Like
I gave a
line
mistake here.
7.
Yes, you're right. So response dot get return value and setting it. Come back to the component application. We have some data. You can still give it. We can organize it. You can apply a table, some table TRTD, something you can organize and get the data. So this is how we got the data, name of the company, industry, so on. I hope you are good with this. Clear? So what was that? Writing a SQL query, getting the data in the form of a list of record. We are trying to display this data. Right. I hope you are good with this. Clear with this. People have followed. Everyone is good with this. Can you do one example? Can you try one example? Right? Let us take an example. Write a SQL query and get the display. Write a SQL query and display the data from opportunity. Write a SQL query, get the data from opportunity and display it. Write a SQL query, get the data from opportunity and display it. Write a SQL query, get the data from opportunity and display it.